4 News starts with breaking news.
Good afternoon. We're coming on the air with breaking news. We are monitoring a police pursuit. We're going to go up to Julia Dang. She's over this in News Chopper 4. Julia, I believe this is in downtown LA now.
In Fontana. It was Fontana police in pursuit of this white pickup truck. You see this guy driving on the wrong side of the road. It is now southbound on Alameda Street. This is in downtown LA. So it came all the way westbound on the 10 freeway from Fontana. And as I widen out here, you might be able to see the black and whites in hot pursuit behind this truck. CHP has finally gotten involved, and there's another agency. There's Ontario Police overhead right now with their helicopter as this possible carjacking suspect speeds through downtown LA. We have not seen any crashes just yet, but the way this driver is going, and we believe it is just a male suspect behind the wheel of this white truck, I would not be surprised, especially on a Friday afternoon, if this starts to get more dicey. Southbound right now on Alameda Street as this goes through downtown LA. Again, started in the city of Fontana with Fontana police in pursuit. You see now it's CHP right behind this white truck.
Yeah, how many units do we have behind this vehicle? I counted at least 4.
I'm counting at least 4 behind it. We got Ontario Police overhead in their helicopter. I think Fontana Police might actually still be involved as well. This came all the way out of the city of Fontana. This man behind the wheel of this white truck wanted for possible carjacking. And I'm zooming in here, trying to get a better look through this open window. He's had his left hand out the window of this truck for quite some time, for as long as we've been over it. Again, it was westbound on the 10 freeway, went through the East LA interchange, got on the 101, and then finally exited on Alameda, went northbound for a little bit. It was right by Dodger Stadium, and then unexpectedly made a U-turn, and now it is going southbound down Alameda Street. And you see this guy getting on the wrong side of the road here behind this building. This is why it is so hard for law enforcement helicopters to keep track of pursuits in the downtown area when they go behind these skyscrapers. But fortunately, with this one, they do have ground units. You see all these CHP black and white units right behind this truck. It is incredible this has gone on for as long as it has without any kind of crash. This is now on Olympic Boulevard, going under the freeway, East Olympic Boulevard, after heading southbound down Alameda through downtown LA. Again, started in Fontana. This driver still with his left hand out the window, and he's actually stopping here, coming up behind these other cars. Heavier traffic now as we come upon the Friday rush hour traffic near downtown, East Olympic Boulevard here.
It's almost like he's signaling with his hand out, and I've noticed that he's doing this when he's approaching more cars, you know, just to kind of give them a heads up that he's trying to get in their, you know, that he's going to go in their lane. But we see all of those vehicles there. This is an industrial area, right, Julia?
This is. We're not seeing a lot of foot traffic. That is a good thing, and you're absolutely correct, Annabelle. He seems to be sticking his hand out the window and waving at oncoming drivers when he's coming up on these intersections, or before he does something really illegal, like driving periodically on the wrong side of the road. I guess, right? Concern for public safety here.
Absolutely.
But if you are anywhere near Olympic Boulevard and Santa Fe Avenue, be aware this is going on. We've had so many different traffic-related stories and incidents today. This is the last thing CHP wants to deal with. I mean, we were just flying over the 405 in Westchester. We were looking at the 5 freeway. And look at this. We've got a pursuit now coming out of downtown LA, Olympic Boulevard, going through Santa Fe Avenue. And this driver is just picking up speed as it goes past this westbound traffic on Olympic Boulevard. Again, fortunately, not a lot of foot traffic, but you see the sidewalks here. You see those parking lots. Anybody could walk out right now and get in the way of this driver who still has his hand out the window. It's like he's waving at people, letting them know, get out of the way.
Yeah. Julia, give us an idea as to whereabouts you're at.
Yeah, so this is going to be just south of downtown. This driver came out of the city of Fontana. It was primarily on freeways, westbound on the 10 before getting on the 101, exited at Alameda near Dodger Stadium, went north, and then started going south before turning right onto Olympic Boulevard. That's where we are right now. We are coming up on, I think this is going to be near the mid-city area, coming out of downtown LA.
Yeah,
and I couldn't tell if there was a red light here, but this driver just swerving into that far right lane now. I don't know what he was trying to dodge there, but he's not going to shake off these CHP units in hot pursuit right behind him, or this Ontario police airship that is still overhead that tracked him all the way out here from the city of Fontana. I'm trying to figure out what is in the back of this truck.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time
what
seeing
we've been reporting is that this is a possible carjacking suspect.
And do we have any idea as to where this car was picked up from?
We don't know, but somewhere in the city of Fontana. I'm sure they're running the plate. We're looking out for more information on that. This is going to be just south of the East LA interchange now, near East LA. We don't know much about this suspect, this pursuit driver who might be wanted for carjacking. So we don't know if he has a good sense of this area and what his destination might be. I don't think he has one. Annabelle, we've seen so many pursuits like this where the driver is just trying to get away. He might be trying to find his way back onto a freeway here. And near the East LA interchange, he's got a number of options, you know, the 10, the 5, the 60, and the 101.
Right, and you know, and considering that he came out from Fontana, who knows if he's familiar with the downtown LA area. Downtown LA can be very tricky for people who don't know this area. You know, there's a lot of like one-way streets. I'm a little concerned now as we're getting to see a little bit more congestion. Again, this is, you know, it's 1:08 in the afternoon. People are coming back from lunch. People may be walking around as well.
Yeah, a lot of people work in this area. This is going to be a little bit east of downtown now as this driver stays eastbound on Olympic Boulevard. If you are driving here, let me just give you a good alternate. You can take Washington instead. I have a feeling this driver is looking for a freeway on-ramp. Best option here is going to be the 5 freeway. We'll see what he decides to do. He's just blowing through these intersections. He's got a clear shot ahead of him as he stays on Olympic. You know, looks like there's not as much traffic eastbound, but you see those people standing by that parking lot?
Right.
This could get really dangerous, really fast. Be aware, there is a police chase going on right now in Boyle Heights.
Julia, let's talk about the game plan here. I mean, we see those 4 units behind, and over, you know, chopper is overhead as well. As far as using a spike strip or anything to stop this car, I mean, we've been seeing this vehicle, this driver, on Olympic for a while now. So can we assume that an officer would lay down a spike strip?
They could. They could. That's probably their best bet right now. The issue is when it's so congested, when there's heavy traffic, like on a Friday afternoon, there's no guarantee another driver might not hit those spikes. So public safety is going to be the key priority, and they want to stop this pursuit. And you see him going there on the wrong side of the road to get around this eastbound traffic. They want to stop the pursuit. They don't want to hurt anybody else. So their best bet, if this driver is not doing anything really wild and causing any crashes, they might just tail this driver on the ground and in the air and wait until he loses, you know, steam, until he runs out of fuel and he has to stop or he decides to stop. But he's been going now for quite some time. Again, this pursuit starting out in Fontana, now in East LA.
Julie, yeah, I was just about to ask if you can open up your shot. Is that a freeway that I see parallel to the driver?
Yeah, that's going to be the 5 freeway. If you're familiar with this part of town, this is going to be a Telegraph Road. It's a good alternate for the 5 freeway. We're slowing down now. I don't know if this driver is trying to find a way to get onto the on-ramp here. Yeah, right in the center of that intersection, slowing down. I thought for a moment he might try to make a wide right turn, but this is now Telegraph Road in East LA. This is right under the 5 freeway. I don't know where this driver is headed. but he keeps on picking up speed. We're now exceeding 60 miles per hour on Telegraph Road. I think CHP might just be waiting for this driver to run out of fuel. This truck has been going for quite some time.
All right.
These speeds on surface roads, I don't know if a pit maneuver is going to be a good idea for a truck.
All right, so we are out of the downtown LA area. We are now in East LA, Julia?
That is correct. East LA, this driver is speeding down Telegraph Road right now. Southeast down Telegraph Road. This is a good alternate usually for the 5 freeway. I don't know where this driver is headed, but this came out of the city of Fontana.
All right, and I haven't seen him, we were seeing him stick out his hand. Haven't seen that. But what concerns me also is when he gets really close to the other drivers and starts waving at them. We still don't know if he has a weapon, right?
We don't know that. And you see that little swerve over there? I don't know if this driver was trying to turn left before he decided to go right or keep on going down Telegraph Road, merging onto Atlantic now. Yeah, I think this driver might be trying to find a way onto the freeway, but just as soon as you said, Annabelle, that we hadn't seen him stick his hand out the window in a couple minutes, he did it again, and it was like he was gesturing or waving at other drivers. I think everybody passing this truck knows at this point that something is up. He is not driving like everybody else on the roads on this Friday afternoon.
Yeah, so again, if you're just tuning in, it is 1:12 in the afternoon. We have been monitoring this vehicle that you see from here. We understand that this started in Fontana, and by the way, Fontana PD is still the lead agency in this pursuit, but CHP is also on standby, or are they already following? Julia.
CHP is involved. This did start in the city of Fontana, and it's very interesting that Fontana police are still the lead agency here. Ontario police have their helicopter flying overhead. CHP has ground units on it. You see one of them coming up here on the corner of our shot.
Yeah.
But it was a Fontana police pursuit. This driver is wanted for possible carjacking. Beyond that, we don't know much about the suspect. We don't believe he has a passenger or anybody else involved in this pursuit. We don't know where he's headed. He's going southbound down Atlantic Boulevard right now.
So we are getting confirmation that this is a carjacking suspect. So that is confirmed. We're still in the East LA area. Again, a lot of traffic on a Friday on the streets, on the freeway. This person, now we're in Commerce. We don't know if there's another if this driver has a passenger in the vehicle. Of course, we are waiting to get more information from Fontana PD. But you see, this driver has been making some odd moves here, some dangerous moves. Just made a U-turn there. What street are we on?
Another U-turn. We've counted 3 of those U-turns now. No signal, totally illegal. This driver now headed north on Atlantic Boulevard. And shout out to my pilot up here in News Chopper 4, Mike. We're navigating a lot of air traffic. There are 6 helicopters over this, including the Ontario Police airship. They have been following this the entire time. This driver now slowing down a little bit northbound on Atlantic Boulevard. I have a feeling this driver is trying to get onto the freeway. I don't know if that's a great idea on a Friday afternoon, especially if this driver decides to head southbound on the 5 freeway, but CHP is still right up behind it. They're not giving this up. We've seen other pursuits go into tracking mode where they pull off the ground units when it starts to get more dicey. That is not happening here. You see how close to this truck the CHP units are, and everybody here knows something is up because they've got their lights and sirens turned on. This driver is still going. He's still got his hand, I think, out the window, just going through this intersection now. Atlantic Boulevard and Washington Boulevard, City of Commerce now, started in Fontana.
Yeah, and by the way, we just got confirmation on that the carjacking happened in Fontana, so that is confirmed. Okay, we saw that driver stop, again, waving, has been sticking his left hand out of the car.
He's got 2 hands out now. He might be, he stopped for just a moment here on Atlantic Boulevard, just past the Washington Boulevard intersection. I thought for a moment there, Annabelle, he was stopping, gesturing at CHP and thinking about getting out, but he's still going.
You know, desperation is top of mind for this driver. I can see that with some of the turns and, you know, just his you know, the way he's driving. But also, you've got to wonder why Fontana PD hasn't given up. Normally, like you said, they would go into tracking mode, especially when there's a lot of people out or a lot of cars out, you know, for the safety of everybody else. But these officers are determined to stop him.
Yeah, that makes me wonder if there might be additional charges here, if there might be something more to it. If they know something about this suspect, they're not sharing publicly just yet to maintain the integrity of the investigation and, of course, this pursuit. But you're right, totally desperate here. I don't know what this driver is trying to do aside from getting away. And I don't think he's going to get away with CHP right behind him, Ontario PD airship over this, and Fontana Police still the lead agency here. Typically, we see smaller cities have their police departments hand pursuits off to CHP once they get on the freeway, but this was on the 10 West for quite a while, and they stayed on it, and now we see this driver, I think, getting on the 5 freeway now.
And how is that 5 freeway looking? No, not yet. So we're still on a side street there. Which one is this one here?
Still on Atlantic Boulevard, northbound on Atlantic Boulevard, getting into that left turn lane now. Definitely did not make a left turn, driving on the wrong side of the road. Fortunately, now the one good thing I can say about this is the driver does not look to be impaired. Whenever he does swerve into the wrong lane, wrong side of the road, he immediately gets back out. So no near misses just yet, but he's going way too fast, not signaling any turns, any lane changes, any abrupt U-turns or moves like this where he's trying to get around other cars, and he is not making any moves to give it up just yet.
Did he throw something out, Julia?
I thought he did. Did you see that motion with his hand?
I did. Again, he's been, you know, sticking out his left hand every time he gets near cars, as if he's waving at them, trying to signal that he's going to cut them off. But I feel like I did see him throw something out. Not quite confirmed just yet.
No confirmation as to whether this suspect was or is armed, but we've seen that before, especially now that it is confirmed this was a carjacking suspect. Carjacking happened in the city of Fontana, and that led to this pursuit. This white truck, I think it just turned onto Whittier Boulevard off of Atlantic. You see CHP right behind it. They keep on getting closer when this truck slows down. They haven't made any moves to lay down spike strips or try anything like a pit maneuver just yet. And that helicopter, that blue and white helicopter that just flew through our shot, that is Ontario PD still tracking this from overhead.
You know, there's a lot of activity going on, so which is good because it's giving other drivers a heads up that something is going on. One thing I'm noticing is that when this driver approaches an intersection, he tends to slow down a little bit, which is great for the safety of other drivers.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing that. We're back in East LA now. You see all the foot traffic here. I saw somebody on a scooter. You see shoppers out around these small businesses. Yeah. Fortunately, I don't think this driver looks to be impaired. That is the only good piece of news we can report here. That and the fact that they still have ground units behind it and an airship overhead, but this pursuit is just going and going. I don't know when this truck is going to run out of fuel. Yeah. This driver hasn't made any moves to really give it up yet. But I don't know if our desk can re-rack that video from a couple minutes earlier, see if he actually did throw something out the open window of this white pickup truck. Possibly a weapon. No confirmation yet as to whether this suspect was armed, but we have confirmed with Fontana PD now this was a carjacking suspect. Fontana PD still lead agency on this pursuit.
All right. Julia, if you can just give me a second, we're going to continue using your video there. We have Jordan Church with the CHP. Jordan, do you hear me? Okay, looks like we're not connected to Jordan just yet. Julia, let's go back to you while we try to get Jordan in contact with Jordan here. We've been monitoring, for anybody who's just tuning in right now, it is 1:20. We've been monitoring this pursuit for a few minutes now. That started in Fontana, and it has been confirmed that it is a carjacking suspect. That carjacking happened in Fontana. Has gone through the 10 freeway, the 101, was on Alameda, Olympic, Telegraph, Atlantic. I mean, has been on many streets, and was in downtown LA for quite some time, is now in East LA, back to East LA, Julia.
Yeah, this is a really interesting track for this pursuit. It tells me this driver does not know where he's going. He's not familiar with this part of town, and he doesn't have any kind of clear destination. But you're absolutely right. Started in the city of Fontana, went westbound on the 10, and then it was on the 101, got off at Alameda, made a wild U-turn after going northbound on Alameda, started going south. Right now, we are headed westbound on Whittier Boulevard. This is interesting because this was in Commerce earlier, so it basically flipped around, and after going east and southeast, started going west. You see all these people on the sidewalk.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see those pedestrians? It's like they're trying to get this guy to stop. Everybody is aware now there is a pursuit going on. That's a good thing, because you see all this foot traffic here, and you see this Friday rush hour really starting to pick up, and it's early. It's not even 1:30 p.m., and it's already getting busier and more dangerous on the roads.
Julia, what do we have up ahead as far as any freeways that are nearby, any major streets? I'm just looking out for the drivers and the pedestrians around that area. We know that East LA is heavily congested.
Yeah, Annabelle, that's a great question. We're in Boyle Heights right now. What do we have up ahead? We've got the East LA interchange up ahead. If this driver is actually looking for a way to get back on the freeways, he's got the 10 and the 60, the 5 and the 101 up ahead. I thought earlier he was looking for a way to get onto the 5, but instead he took Telegraph Road all the way down to Commerce before heading back west. I think he might be looking for a good place to bail out. There's nothing here, but if this driver makes it back to downtown LA, that's a good place always for these pursuit suspects to shake off the airship. This is going to be tougher, though, for this driver to get away because there are so many CHP units on the ground right behind him.
Yeah, I mean, did you guys see that that swerve he made, again, driving on the wrong lanes? And we've seen that. We've seen him go pretty fast at times on these side streets. Currently on Whittier, we are seeing a lot of these parked cars, but we are seeing a lot of traffic at times, and we've also seen some pedestrians. Again, now we're in Boyle Heights, another area that, tends to have a lot of pedestrians just walking around, especially on a Friday in the afternoon.
Yeah, and this is starting to look more residential. You noted earlier that it was going through a mostly industrial area in downtown LA. Now we're seeing playgrounds, we're seeing backyards, we're seeing homes, we're seeing more of these small businesses, parked cars along the side of the road, and this driver is still going. I don't know what the game plan is. I have not heard or seen anything about spike strips potentially being laid down in front of this truck. And again, the reason for that is because there's so much additional traffic, right? They might accidentally spike the wrong car and cause some kind of accident that then requires more of a law enforcement response. I think CHP and Fontana Police, they're trying to play it safe. They're just going to keep eyes on this with the help of Ontario Police overhead in their helicopter and wait for this driver to either run out of gas or just do the right thing and give up.
All right, so earlier we had 4 units behind this pickup truck. How many do we have now, Julia?
I'm counting 1, 2 right behind it, 3, 4. We've got 4, 5, at least 5 CHP units on the ground behind this white truck. Driver wanted for kidnapping. Excuse me, not kidnapping, carjacking. Carjacking out of the city of Fontana. And then we have Ontario Police overhead. I believe Fontana Police, still the lead agency. I'm not seeing their vehicles. They must be behind these 5 or 6 CHP units that are right up against this truck headed westbound on Whittier Boulevard.
How common is that for CHP to be behind this driver on surface streets?
We don't see it a lot. We really don't. We also don't often see city police departments staying with a pursuit for as long as Fontana PD did in this case before handing this off to California Highway Patrol. So for people not familiar with the jurisdictions, we're talking about 2 city agencies, municipal police departments from the city of Fontana and the city of Ontario. CHP, of course, is going to be the state agency. Their jurisdiction here is going to be the freeways. This has been off the freeways now for quite some time, for as long as we've been covering this on NBC4 after it got off the 101. Which it merged onto from the 10. This driver now back near downtown. Looks like this is near 6th and Mateo. I thought this driver was about to pull over finally. Still going though, still going westbound on 6th.
And Julia, I'm getting some new information here. We're getting some confirmation that yes, this is a carjacking suspect. This car, this pickup truck, was actually stolen from a restaurant in Fontana. So can you just imagine whoever owns this truck, what they're going through as well? I mean, I'm not sure if maybe this is a work truck or not for them, but maybe they were on a lunch break and they were going to go back to work, and then this happens.
This is wild. I mean, everybody on the roads today, they're victims here, right? Every innocent bystander who might feel unsafe, who might be part of a near miss here, is a victim. But think about the person who owns this truck. I wonder if they're watching this right now, wondering if they're going to get their vehicle back, any valuables they might have in the truck. And I think you're right, Annabelle. This looks to be a work truck. Yeah. I don't know what this driver is signaling, but we're now stopped at 6th and Alameda.
Who is he signaling at?
LA.
Is he signaling at the units behind him or other vehicles? I mean, he's clearly, both hands are out. You see them there.
Very agitated. I think he might be signaling at the CHP unit right behind him, or the 2 units. You see officers out now, guns drawn, standing behind their open doors. I don't know what just happened.
But he keeps going forward a little. I mean, is he going to play a little game here? Yeah, going to go, stop and go. We've seen that before.
I don't know what he's doing. Yep, stop and go. I don't think the truck has been disabled. The tires look okay from our vantage point, but he's got like half his torso out the open window, very agitated, gesturing at these officers, and now he's going.
You know, it's really hard to tell, what's going on here.
And on the wrong side of the road again. I don't know why he is doing that.
You can see he's desperate, though,
of course. Turn on his Central Avenue. Totally desperate. I don't know what the game plan is for this driver. That was the closest we have seen CHP to really making moves to stop this. You saw the officers get out of their cars. They had him at gunpoint, but then this driver continued, turning on a Central Avenue now off of 6th. Back in downtown LA.
All right.
CHP is still behind him.
And Julia, this is again an industrial area, correct?
It is industrial, but you do see pedestrians out here. There is just a lot of traffic. There's always a lot of congestion on Fridays.
And I'm noticing a lot more trucks around this area.
That's right. A lot of trucks, and imagine if they laid down spike strips and accidentally disabled the wrong vehicle. But as this driver gets more desperate, I think the chances of him making a dangerous maneuver
seems like
all of this...
It seems, I'm sorry, Julia, it seems like he's still throwing something out.
I think you might be right. Yeah.
I mean, he's signaling, but yeah, there he goes again. Yeah, signaling, but it also seems like he's been throwing things out on occasion there.
If he is, we don't know for sure what is being thrown out of the windows. I haven't heard anything on the scanners up here. My immediate assumption when I see something like that is a suspect must be trying to get rid of a weapon or some other kind of evidence. But those wild hand gestures, Annabelle, as this driver comes up against this densely populated area with a lot of people standing outside, those gestures might also just be him turning this steering wheel wildly as he's making these U-turns and wide left and right turns from the wrong side of the road. and he's behind that building. We should see, yeah, there he goes. Again, a lot of air traffic here. We've got 6 helicopters over this.
Yeah.
My pilot, Mike, is going to maneuver, so we have a clean shot of this. CHP is still behind him on the ground. So even if the Ontario Police helicopter loses sight of this driver momentarily, CHP, you see how close they are to this driver. They're not going to lose him. They're not letting him go.
They're not. And again, it goes back to, you've got to wonder, I mean, it's a confirmed carjacking suspect. Typically, there's a little bit more to that when the units decide to continue and follow a driver like this, because they are, you know, they think about the safety of everybody else, right? Other drivers. And it seems like there's got to be a little bit more as to why they're not letting this driver go and just, you know, monitor him from above.
That's right. We've seen officials let so many different types of pursuit drivers go because they decide it's just not worth the risk to public safety. In this case, this has gone on for, I think, at least an hour now, came out of the city of Fontana. The only piece of the initial want that we've gotten confirmed at this point is that it is a confirmed carjacking, and this white pickup truck was stolen from a restaurant in the city of Fontana. Beyond that, we don't know if this suspect was armed, if he's wanted for anything else, and we don't know much about the person who actually owns this truck, who's probably watching this pursuit coverage right now.
And in fact, Julia, on our screen there, you can see a live shot there on the left side of your screen. On the right side, you see where the pickup truck was stolen from. This is China Cook, I believe is the name of that restaurant. Producer, can you confirm that? Correct. All right. So that's where we're told this pickup truck was stolen from. You see that there on the right side. You see activity there. You see those police units there. You see that sign that looks like it was destroyed. I believe that's a sign. But again, we don't know the extent of how this car was taken. We don't have all of that information. We, of course, are working to gather more of that information. But that's what we know so far. This is a confirmed carjacking suspect. It happened right there in China Cook restaurant in Fontana. So again, Julia, you were telling us that this started around 12:30 out of Fontana. It's been everywhere on the 10 freeway, the 101, in downtown LA, East LA, Boyle Heights, Commerce, back to East LA, then Boyle Heights. It's been stopping, it's been waving, it's been sticking. He's been sticking his arms out of that window, waving to other drivers, also waving to the CHP units behind him. You've got to wonder what's next here.
We are back near Union Station, Annabelle, and you got to feel for whoever this truck was stolen from at that restaurant in Fontana. I don't know what the game plan is. There is no clear direction, and if you look at the path of this pursuit, if you look at the flight path of the Ontario helicopter that's been flying over this the entire time, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. We are back in downtown LA now. We were here before. This is close to where we picked up the pursuit. This is going to be right by Union Station, and this pursuit driver is just sitting here in the middle of the intersection now, trying to make, I think, a right turn off of Los Angeles Street onto Alameda. I don't know what is going on, but you see all this other traffic, you see the other cars trying to get around it. They may not know what's going on. I would not drive in front of a pursuit suspect like that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're on the move again. He's inching forward, completing that right turn, getting back onto Alameda Street. Now, if this driver wants to get on a freeway, the 101 is right by here. He's got his left hand out the window still. I don't know who he's waving at, but CHP, you see that lead unit, you see that driver's side door opening. Officer might be making moves to get out again as he inches up closer to this stolen white pickup truck.
You know, and how close do they get, right? I mean, because we've seen this driver stop, officers get out, and then he continues to go, as we're seeing now.
I mean, this is terrifying. This is terrifying for other drivers. You saw that little swerve right there. That easily could have been a near miss with the other driver headed the other way down Alameda Street. These CHP officers have no idea what this driver might do. They really don't know what he has in the truck. I don't know about you, but I cannot tell what he is gesturing, what he's trying to communicate to them. So when they get up really close, they open their doors, they pop their heads out, and they try and reason with this driver, they don't know what is going to happen.
So now we're like in the middle of an intersection. What street is this, Julia?
This is going to be Alameda Street. This is back near downtown LA. This is right by Union Station, and this driver is stopped at Aliso Street. I mean, look at what this is doing to traffic in downtown on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah, you see, I mean, Alameda as it is very busy, especially in downtown LA there. And so when you add this to the mix, it really is just dampening so many of these people's days.
This is scary stuff. It always is. And what's concerning to me here is that the driving behavior appears to be getting more erratic, right? For about the first 20 minutes when we were covering this, it was straight shots, right? This driver wasn't doing anything really obviously dangerous. But now every couple of minutes, it's like he's stopping in intersections, waving his arms wildly out the window, and then pausing, right? Just stopping in the middle of the road. So I don't know if he's trying to ask for help here, if he's trying to signal that he's getting more desperate. I don't know what the plan is. They have not tried to lay down spike strips just yet that we've seen. They have not tried a pit maneuver just yet, but CHP is definitely still behind this white truck. Wrong side of the road again. Did you see that?
Yes. Yes. Okay, so now where is he headed? Is this, what street is this, Julia?
This is going to be Santa Fe Avenue. I think this just turned off of Central near Alameda. I don't know what that maneuver was. That was clearly not thought out and not needed to do what he did, which was to just continue on the same street. This is now South Santa Fe Avenue, still near downtown LA.
Again, we could see that desperation in this driver. Stops, goes, and then makes these crazy turns, these crazy U-turns. We've seen that. The only good thing that I've seen here with this driver is that he does tend to slow down at those intersections. And I'm just thinking about all of the other drivers, the pedestrians. You know, he slows down, and so that's good news for anybody else who's outside.
This is getting so insane, Annabelle. Look at that. He was straddling the solid yellow line for a moment, and then he just got on the wrong side of the road entirely. Santa Fe Avenue now. This is going to be near the Arts District, part of downtown LA, and this is why it's so tricky for the law enforcement airships, because when it goes underneath, oh, here we go. Yeah, you see the black and whites behind it. Ground units have not lost this pursuit.
Yeah, but straddling lanes, weaving in and out of traffic, we've seen that. I mean, the behavior this driver has is just outrageous here, and has been driving pretty fast. I mean, right now he's driving, 40 miles per hour or so, but he has gone close to 60 miles at times on surface streets.
Yeah, and it's the unpredictability of it. I mean, he's jumping onto the wrong side of the road and flipping U-turns and making wide left turns from the wrong side of the road, and then doing things like stopping in the intersection. I mean, what do you do if you come up against this, you're driving the other way, and you don't know this is a pursuit, right? This could get so bad. Here we go again. Now he's stopping as he's trying to turn onto Mateo Street from Willow Street. Arts District, part of LA. This is going to be a little bit east of Union Station.
All right.
Yeah, people are getting out of their cars now watching this pursuit go by. I cannot believe this driver hasn't run out of gas yet.
And these are narrow streets, Julia.
These are very, very narrow streets. There are a lot of small business here. You've got apartment buildings, you've got foot traffic, you've got heavy vehicle traffic too. You see somebody walking over there. The sooner they get this to stop, and you see this driver coming up against another K-9 unit from CHP right now, but the sooner they get this to stop, the better for everybody driving in the area this afternoon. Arts District, part of downtown LA right now. Palmetto Street and Hewitt.
All right. Hey, Julie, give me 1 second. I believe we have sound from the person whose vehicle was stolen. Let's listen to that. This is again out of Fontana.
I was getting out of my truck, and a guy asked me for a ride. I said, no. I said, I'm getting ready to go get something to eat. And I got to the back of the truck, and he come up behind me, snatched my keys, ran to the front of the truck. I chased him, and we struggled inside the truck. He backed up. I thought he was going to hit the cars behind it, but he stopped. Got it. I'm still wrestling with him, and then he managed to get it into drive. He floored it, and I'm still hanging on, and I lost my footing. I fell out, and he ran up and over the curb, took out the sign over there, and the rest is history. They're chasing him now.
I mean, what do you think now that this happened and you're both cruise and everything?
More of my pride and my dignity's hurt, you know, because I wasn't quite strong enough to get him out of the truck. But he was kind of greasy kind of feel, you know, and I just couldn't get a good hold on him.
How do you feel now, right now?
I'm all right, you know, a little scrape, a little stinging, but I'm fine.
Oh, God. Did you hear that, Julia? I mean, you just
crazy.
feel for him. So, again, yeah, this guy was going to get something to eat. The driver of this pickup now gets the keys from behind him. There's a struggle. And gets in the car, puts it in park, you know, and he's holding on to his pickup truck, trying to hold on to his car. This driver just ends up taking off, and you can see some of the, you know, the cuts that he has there because he was dragged. But gosh, you just feel for people like this.
You really do. This is just awful. Like, who does that? I feel so badly for that driver. He was just trying to get lunch.
Yeah.
And now, you know, he's got those minor injuries, and he's watching his truck be used in a pursuit that's miles and miles away from him, hours after the truck was stolen. This is now in downtown LA. And imagine how awful he's going to feel if this ends up causing a crash of some kind.
Yeah.
You see pedestrians like lined up on sidewalks now watching this go by. I hope drivers in the area are aware that this is going on and they're paying attention to the wild gestures this guy is making by waving his arm out the window, and they're getting out of the way. I can't believe we have not seen more near misses the way this guy is driving, but CHP is right up behind him. They're determined to get this guy to stop safely.
Yeah, I mean, again, what street is this, Julia?
He's back on Alameda.
Okay.
I don't know why he keeps on circling this area. When a driver in a pursuit keeps on going back to the same spot, look at this, wrong side of the road again on Alameda Street near East Olympic. You remember when this was here earlier, before heading down to Boyle Heights, East LA, Commerce, and then coming back into downtown LA. But when a driver keeps on going back to the same area during a pursuit, you gotta wonder, does he have somebody waiting there to pick him up? Does he know a clever spot where he thinks he can ditch the car and make a run for it?
Yeah, I mean, so many unknowns at this point. We still see those units behind. CHP, which I find very interesting, is still behind this vehicle. You know, Fontana PD is still the leading agency here, but CHP units are behind this car. And we were saying that this is pretty uncommon, though. But look at that. Another wide turn there.
Yep, and he found a freeway to get onto. I think this is the 10 freeway, getting onto the 10 from downtown LA after circling the area for quite some time. And yep, it is CHP still behind this pursuit.
Yeah.
This is their jurisdiction. We've got California Highway Patrol back on a state highway here. We don't know where this driver is headed. I can't believe he still has fuel, but Ontario Police still has their helicopter tracking this as well. And now that it's over a freeway, this is going to be easier for the airship, for that helicopter to keep eyes on. It is very difficult for helicopters to keep track of pursuits in downtown LA, especially driving the way this car was. And I think he might be making moves to get off the 10 now, exiting Santa Fe Avenue.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so 10 freeway, we know that there's going to be a lot of traffic here. Do we know which direction of the 10 freeway he's on?
Yeah, this was the eastbound 10 freeway exiting now on Santa Fe Avenue. And if that sounds familiar, it's because this driver was making wild turns on and off of Santa Fe Avenue earlier in the Arts District. Looks like he's getting on the northbound side of Santa Fe Avenue. Maybe he got onto the wrong freeway. Maybe he was looking for a different one. I thought he was going to get on the 5 freeway earlier in Commerce, but he took Telegraph Road instead, getting off the off-ramp now, northbound Alameda. What is going on here?
Yeah. Okay, so if you are just tuning in, it is 1:45. We've been on the air for about 45 minutes now, and the chase was going on even before that. You know, we heard a few minutes ago, we heard sound from the person whose pickup truck this is, who it belongs to. Says he went out, stopped at China Cook, the restaurant there in Fontana, to get something to eat. This guy comes over to him, talks to him, and grabs the keys from behind him. There was a struggle. The guy managed to get in the car, put it on drive. The owner of the vehicle says that he was still hanging on to it as he was being dragged. We saw some of those scratches that owner has, and it's just unfortunate, just trying to get something to eat. And now we've been seeing this driver all over, from Fontana to downtown LA, East LA, Commerce. He's been all over, Julia, and we've been seeing him drive pretty recklessly at times.
Recklessly, basically, for like the past half hour, it has been getting more and more erratic. I am so glad the rightful owner of this truck who was carjacked is doing okay. This could have ended very, very differently for him. But you got to feel for that driver as this pursuit suspect gets back onto Olympic Boulevard. This might be our third pass down East Olympic Boulevard. This is going to be near East LA now. He was on the 10 freeway headed eastbound for just one exit. Look at this, on the wrong side of the road, and there are other drivers
cars
here.
Yeah.
This pursuit suspect just does not care. He wanted to make that left turn, so he got out of the way, and he did not care about the oncoming traffic as he started driving eastbound on the westbound side of that road. That was Olympic. He just turned onto Soto Street.
Again, you got to wonder, too, why he attempted to get on, or he got on the freeway, the 10 freeway, for a split second and then exited, and now he's, back on side streets here. But you've got to wonder why he did that.
Look at this, wrong side of the road again. I don't know. I mean, the 10 freeway, had he stayed eastbound on the 10, this would have taken him back to where he came from, the city of Fontana. Okay, he's going to be coming underneath us now, making that left turn onto 8th Street. You got to wonder for somebody look at that.
All right,
pit maneuver. CHP finally pitting this pickup truck. They've got 2 units here. They're going to box them in. 3rd unit coming up. Yeah, this is over. This is over. This driver is done. After maybe he's not.
Wow.
Backing up here, this is East 8th Street and Boyle Avenue. This is wild, Annabelle. He's still going. He just backed up after that pit maneuver, made a right turn, and he is still going.
That was really close, really, really close. I thought it was going to come to an end. Oh, that's unfortunate. Okay.
That was like a picture-perfect pit maneuver, and then somehow he reversed out of it. 3 CHP units were around him. He reversed out of it and made a right turn on a Boyle Avenue, and this pursuit is still going. I don't think this driver is impaired. I don't think an impaired driver could have done something like that.
No, I mean, he is on a mission. We don't know what it is, but he's on a mission to just stay away.
Wow.
Boy, that was unfortunate because we were so close to, for all of this to come to an end without anybody else being injured here.
This is wild, Annabelle. This driver's still going. Let me see if there's any visible damage to this truck after that pit maneuver. With CHP, they had 3 ground units involved in trying to box this driver in. You saw them open their doors. They were starting to get out, trying to apprehend this guy. He got out of it. He's still going. You see the damage now. You see that dent on the driver's side of this truck, but the wheels are still spinning, and this guy is still going, and we are back on his favorite road here, back on Olympic Boulevard. I was surprised he didn't continue eastbound on the 10 freeway. I mean, if he was looking to go back to Fontana, That freeway is a straight shot out there, but I guess traffic is picking up. And maybe he's not trying to go back to the scene of the original crime, the carjacking. And I'm so glad we heard from the rightful owner, and he's doing okay. He's just a little bit shaken up.
He's doing okay,
I don't know if he's ever going to go back to that restaurant where this happened.
But here, you know, Julia, if he's looking at this, if he's watching this, I mean, and just looking at that damage now on the left side of the pickup truck, you know, that, again, hurts. If this is your car that's being driven like this, and now there's some serious damage to it, you are just so bothered, so upset because of everything that's just happened.
He was just trying to get lunch. Look at his truck now. I don't know if he's going to get his truck back the way this driver is going. I don't know if CHP is going to try another pit maneuver.
And we're seeing it there on screen there on your right side. This happened just moments ago. We saw that attempt, the first attempt of that pit maneuver. It was a clean pit maneuver. Unfortunately, this driver managed to back up, there you see him, and then just take off. Oh, that's so frustrating, Julia.
And it was perfect. I mean, they spun him around. It was a perfect 180, right? The officers were starting to get out of their units, and then he did a quick reverse maneuver, made a right turn, and got out of there.
All right, we
haven't seen that happen often.
Yeah, he was just waving. He's been doing this for quite some time now. You know, tends to wave, stick his hands out, waves, you know, especially when he's close to other cars. There we see him again, driving on the opposite.
Yeah, back onto Alameda now. He's been around Olympic Boulevard and Alameda Street at least 4 different times now. I'm starting to really suspect this driver might be looking for someone. Maybe there is somebody here who's got a getaway vehicle for him before he runs out of fuel in this stolen pickup truck, which is now visibly damaged. If you look toward the back of the driver's side, that's where the CHP unit that tried that pit maneuver dented the truck. But it is still moving. Tires look to be okay. So I don't know what their next move is. We haven't heard any chatter maybe about spike strips.
You know, Julie, I'm getting some new information. We're hearing that the call came in at 12:06. And look at the time, it's 1:52, so almost 2 hours of this pursuit. You know, again, pit maneuver was attempted here. We were very, very close just moments ago, and that driver took off. But this is a pursuit that's been going on for close to 2 hours now, from Fontana all the way down to downtown LA.
That's a lot of fuel this driver has burned. He's got to run out eventually as this goes back under the freeway. This is going to be the 10 freeway. He was momentarily on the eastbound side of the 10 before getting back off at Santa Fe Avenue near the Arts District. Still on Alameda Street right now as he goes around these other drivers. Alameda crossing 15th. This is not a good spot to try another pit maneuver. CHP can't do it here because you see all the other drivers. They could accidentally knock this truck into an innocent bystander.
Julia, could the driver be charged with assault since he backed up to the owner of this vehicle, do you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. With this most recent pit attempt by CHP, I don't know if that could be assault with a deadly weapon on an officer because he did not drive towards CHP. We're going to have to take a closer look at that, however. It happened so quickly from our vantage point. I think I was in the middle of saying there's no way he can get away when he did, in fact, get away. But you saw the helicopter for just a moment here flying through our shot. The helicopter is still over this.
Yeah.
CHP is still behind it, and it looks like they've got a new cruiser right behind this pursuit vehicle, eastbound again on the 10 freeway.
All right, so this could potentially, again, we're hoping that, you know, just goes back to the IE. Again, this started in Fontana, so if he heads that direction, then we're a little closer to where this all happened. But again, we are approaching 2 hours of this pursuit.
This wild pursuit that is getting more erratic by the minute as we see this driver getting more agitated, gesturing more out the window, and somehow getting away after that CHP pit maneuver in downtown LA on surface streets. Okay, looks like this driver might be committed to the 5 South. I had a feeling this driver was trying to get on the 5 earlier when he took Telegraph Road instead, but he just merged over into that center lane. Let's see what this driver decides to do. Not a lot of traffic just yet, but it is fairly early on a Friday afternoon. So there's a fairly straight shot ahead of him. He's got a clear path. Yep, he might be getting onto the 60 East or 5 South. Not sure which one he's going to take. CHP right behind this stolen white truck.
And I'm noticing he's not going too fast here on the freeway.
I don't know, maybe he's trying to conserve fuel. He does not have a lot of time left. Nope. Swerved over there. I don't know if he did that intentionally to try and shake off CHP, but he's got 6 helicopters overhead. We're not going to lose this guy. Southbound on the 5 after, for just a moment, looking like he might have been going eastbound on this 60.
All right. Eric Leonard is also joining us here, Julia. Eric, you know, I'm not sure if you saw the person who this truck belongs to. He is scratched up. He says that he was being dragged. Do you think that this driver could face now assault charges?
Well, look, it's definitely possible. Carjacking by itself is considered a violent crime. So it is, oh, they're not hearing me? They do have...
All right. Let's see. He does have his mic on. We're going to get that figured out there. We're taking a look here at Julia's images here, and we still see those units behind him. This is what now? What street is this on? Or are we still on the 10?
Boyle Heights, East LA interchange. Looks like this driver committed to the 5 South at the 101.
Okay. So we're on the 101 now. We're seeing a lot more traffic here in this Boyle Heights area. Those units still behind, CHP still behind, and I believe that Fontana PD is still the lead agency in this pursuit.
That is correct. Fontana PD initiated this pursuit that might be stopping, might be pausing here. Slowing down for sure. This is going to be on the southbound side of the 5 freeway, coming out of the East LA interchange in Boyle Heights. If you're not familiar with this area, this is east of downtown. This is near East LA, and this is a fresh CHP cruiser lead unit right behind this stolen white truck. Visibly damaged after that pit maneuver, but stolen from somebody who was just trying to get lunch at a Chinese restaurant in the city of Fontana.
All right, so we're on the freeway now. We saw that attempt of a pit maneuver. Let's talk about the options that CHP has here to slow him down, to get him to stop.
Well, you cannot do a pit maneuver on a freeway.
Right.
On a Friday afternoon with this driver pushing, I think, 60 miles right now. Not sure if that speedometer we have on it is correct, but this driver center lane right now, southbound on the 5, swerving in front of these other drivers, speeding up every so often. Good news is it's not crazy congested here, so he's got room to maneuver, and other drivers have room to navigate around this pursuit suspect.
All right, if you are just tuning in, this is a call that came in at 12:06. So this pursuit has been going on for close to 2 hours now. Carjacking suspect. We heard from the owner of this vehicle, this pickup truck there. Guy was just trying to get something to eat, gets out of his truck. This driver that you see right there gets the keys from behind him. There's a struggle. The guy, is trying to hold on to his truck as this driver is driving away. So we saw some of those scratches there on his elbows. He was showing us earlier when we played that sound for you. And maybe we'll get that ready for you so that we can hear that sound, because it just breaks your heart to think that somebody's car was taken from them.
This could have been so bad. This could have been so bad, Annabelle, if this pursuit suspect, this carjacking suspect, dragged the owner for any longer. I mean, we've seen people killed that way. We've covered stories like that. I just want to yell at this pursuit driver right now, eyes on the road, because you saw him like sticking his head out the window, both arms out the driver's side window of this truck, pointing at something. It looked to me like he might have been pointing up at the sky. I don't know if he's gesturing at the Ontario police helicopter. They followed him out here when this first started. CHP is now swapped out a couple of their units. You see him now. He doesn't have hands on the wheel.
No.
Still southbound on the 5 freeway. Up ahead, he's going to hit more traffic. This is actually the slowest he has been driving for a while. Unfortunately, CHP probably cannot safely attempt another pit maneuver here, because if he spins out, look at the other cars next to him on the southbound 5 freeway.
Julia, what is I'm seeing the activity on the ground there. We still have those 4 or 5 units behind him. What about in the air? How many choppers do we have above there?
We've had a couple friends up here in the air, I think have to go for fuel. Ontario Police, I believe they still have their helicopter over this. That is really important, because if at any point they decide to go into tracking mode and pull off ground units, maybe because it's getting too dangerous, maybe because it gets too fast, with the helicopter overhead, they can still keep tabs on where the driver is going and what he is doing. Still southbound right now on the 5 back in East LA. Their options are limited here, but it's going slow enough. Perhaps they can lay down spike strips if they have CHP officers stationed up ahead. And that's easier, it's more predictable on a freeway, because he's not going to be making those wild turns like we saw earlier in downtown LA, primarily off of Olympic Boulevard and Alameda Street.
And we see at least one unit really close behind him there, Julia.
Yeah, that's the new one. I believe this CHP cruiser just entered this pursuit after the pit attempt in downtown LA. So when this got back onto the 10 freeway before merging onto the 5 South, we noticed this lead unit. It's getting very close, but this driver is going pretty slowly right now, just about 20 miles per hour. Let's see what he decides to do as we come up on the City of Commerce again, this time on the 5 freeway. Yeah, this driver might be committed to the 710 South, getting onto the 710 from the southbound 5 freeway.
Yep, there he is. And for any of our viewers that are just tuning in, you can see that that damage there on the left side of the truck. That was because of the pit maneuver that was attempted earlier. What would you say, maybe like 15 minutes ago or so in downtown LA. It was a perfect pit maneuver, and we're going to show you the video there. You see it right there on the right side of your screen. It really was perfect. It was clean. Unfortunately, this driver, once it happened, backed up and then took off. And this is where we're at now. So we're on the 710 freeway. You see him there back up there on the right side of your screen, and that's when he takes off and, you know, continues that pursuit.
Reckless move, evading arrest, very illegal, but this driver somehow, I hate to say it, successfully got away and continued this pursuit after that pit maneuver in downtown LA. And the damage, even though it's visible here, it hasn't done much to the drivability of this stolen white truck. I think we can say for sure, though, the rightful owner is not going to get this vehicle back in the same kind of condition.
No. I mean, we already see that damage there on the left side. That driver is still sticking out his arms, Julia. I saw that just a few moments ago, still waving.
Yeah, still going. I don't know what he's doing with his left hand here. There have been moments where I was wondering if he might have been signing something in like ASL, American Sign Language. We've seen him taking both hands off the steering wheel on the freeway. He's now on the 710. He got onto the 10 East near downtown LA, and then it was southbound 5. Now he's southbound on the 710 in the City of Commerce. There is quite a bit of traffic up ahead. Let me widen out and show you as this CHP unit gets a lot closer. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4 CHP units just in our shot here as this driver continues.
I mean, we are seeing that backup. There seems to be a lot more activity. Have they stopped traffic?
Let me widen out and see. I was zoomed in, really focused on what the driver was trying to do, but they might have a motorcycle unit behind this too. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 black and whites from CHP behind this pursuit driver southbound right now on this 710 going through the city of Commerce. That was interesting. We didn't see any other drivers for a moment there, but you see now this is regular freeway activity, and he's just going to hit more traffic if he continues southbound, approaching the city of Maywood, Bell, and then this is going to take him to the 710 and the 105. So straight shot down there up to this driver if he decides to pull over and finally give it up after carjacking somebody in the city of Fontana, taking this white truck, dragging the owner for a little bit, and then going westbound on the 10, northbound on the 101, getting off, getting back on the freeways, 10 east, 5 south, and now we are southbound on the 710.
So, Julia, to me, it looks like they're trying to slow traffic behind him. And it makes me wonder, are they going to attempt another pit maneuver when maybe there isn't a lot more traffic? Or what do you think? What are the options here?
I don't know what their options are. We have not heard anything about what they're trying to do behind this driver. Perhaps they're trying to clear enough space on the freeway so that he's essentially boxed in. Nowhere to go ahead, nowhere to go behind. That would be interesting. I can't remember the last time we saw that during an active pursuit.
All right.
Typically, when a driver continues on a pursuit like this, they just track it from overhead, possibly on the ground as well, and wait for the driver to run out of fuel. He is bound to at some point, especially the way this driver is going. Keeps on stopping, slowing down, continuing, driving right now through the Gore Point on the 710 South.
All right, it is 2:06. We are officially 2 hours in from the time the call came in. The call came in at 12:06 with a report of, this carjack that happened in Fontana. If you are just joining us, this started in Fontana at a restaurant called China Cook. A few moments ago, we heard from the owner of this pickup truck saying that he was he stopped, got out of his car to get something to eat. The suspect, the person in this vehicle here, approaches him, talks to him for a little bit, manages to get the keys from behind him. There's a struggle, and I believe we have that audio, that sound ready to go. So let's hear that so that you can, if you're just tuning in, you can hear this guy.
I was getting out of my truck, and a guy asked me for a ride. I said no. I said I'm getting ready to go get something to eat. And I got to the back of the truck, and he come up behind me, snatched my keys, ran to the front of the truck. I chased him, and we struggled inside the truck. He backed up. I thought he was going to hit the cars behind it, but he stopped. Got it. I'm still wrestling with him, and then he managed to get it into drive. He floored it, and I'm still hanging on, and I lost my footing. I fell out, and he ran up and over the curb, took out the sign over there, and the rest is history. They're chasing him now.
I mean, what do you think now that this happened and you're both cruising and everything?
Yeah, more of my pride and my dignity's hurt, because I wasn't quite strong enough to get him out of the truck, but he was kind of greasy kind of feel, and I just couldn't get a good hold on him.
How do you feel now?
I'm all right, a little scrape, a little stinging, but I'm fine.
Yeah, so we heard of there. That's Ronald. He says, he showed us his minor scratches that he has there. But he says it's his pride and his dignity that's hurt because he wasn't able to stop him. Julia, we were talking that this could have been a whole lot worse. Yes, he does have those minor scratches, but it could have been worse. It's just unfortunate.
Absolutely. He could have dragged that owner of this truck for a while. That could have led to serious injuries. We've covered fatal incidents like that before. But yeah, this guy is kind of greasy. We've zoomed in all the way just to get a better look. We don't see any passengers, just this driver, this pursuit suspect wanted for carjacking. He's got his arms still hanging out the window, and he is still going, still southbound on the 710. To answer your question, Annabelle, about whether CHP was trying to shut down a stretch of this freeway to try and get this contained and better under control, it doesn't look like that's their game plan right now. I think they're just going to track this driver and ensure he doesn't get away and doesn't do anything to seriously endanger other drivers here. Fortunately, unfortunately, this freeway right now on the southbound side doesn't look to be as congested as his other options. Had he stayed southbound on the 5 freeway before merging onto the 710 in Commerce, he would have come up against more traffic. But this looks to be clear. Let me actually widen out and see what's going on up ahead. Yeah, they didn't shut down the freeway. He's just hanging back behind these other drivers. This might actually be the calmest and safest stretch of driving we have seen from this pursuit driver. This driver was doing crazy things on surface streets when it was circling downtown LA, I think trying to find a way back onto the freeways. This is actually safer than it was before, even though it's going a little bit faster. And you see CHP right behind it. Ontario Police, they still have their helicopter over this too, I believe.
All right, Julia, if you can just give me a second here. I want to bring in Eric Leonard to talk about what we've been seeing now for 2 hours, Eric.
Yeah, it's very clear that the reason there is such an intense effort by law enforcement to stop this guy is because of what we just heard from the owner of that truck, the victim of this crime. In California, carjacking is really considered a robbery crime, a violent crime, and that's one of the criteria that elevates this kind of incident away from some of the other chases we've seen for things that are far less serious. There would be certainly a discussion going on about alternative ways to continue this, or perhaps discontinue it if it was somebody wanted for something that was a traffic infraction or suspected of something minor. But once it's in the felony violent crime area, which clearly this is, not to mention the danger that this driver is putting everybody else in, it escalates the risk, and it becomes incumbent on whatever agencies involved, here it's the CHP, to make sure this person is taken off the road today. It's interesting that we saw them get aggressive with that pit maneuver in downtown LA.
Yeah.
Trucks, especially ones that look like this, at least from our perspective here, it looks like it's lifted more than it would have come from the factory. Anything that's a higher profile or heavier creates a physics problem for CHP that is really set up to do pit maneuvers on cars that weigh less than their SUVs. And so that's a difficulty that's built into all of this. On top of that, most modern cars have in their car computers, because all of them are run by computers now, a disabling function that happens when they're spun around 180 degrees at a particular speed. It's supposed to cut the engine off. Maybe that happened here. Maybe he was able to restart it. But that's part of the philosophy and the reasons why they do that. If they spin the car, it shuts it off, and that's supposed to bring this to a stop. That's a modern feature. It may not be present in a car that's a few years old.
Yeah. What do you think about the staggering of how the CHP units are? I mean, to me, it seemed like they were trying to slow traffic down. As this car just kept going, and of course we still had traffic up, in the front, in front of him, but behind, it seemed like they were trying to slow traffic.
It's certainly possible. I don't know if we were together on one of these recently where it was clear the CHP was forcing traffic down to 1 or 2 lanes in order to create an opportunity for a spike strip. So we have seen them in some of these chases manage all the other traffic on the freeway in order to create an opportunity to intervene and possibly stop it. But those actions are pretty obvious. We've seen them start to push, like everybody else on the freeway, towards an off-ramp, or we see them use their cars to block a succession of lanes. I haven't seen that. You've been watching this a little longer than me, but it's pretty obvious when they try to do something like that to force the driver thereafter into a particular place or a particular circumstance. I haven't seen that just yet, but it's definitely something in their playbook and something that we've only seen somewhat recently.
All right, I want to bring Julia back in. Julia, whereabouts are we at now?
We are still southbound on the 710 freeway, city of Southgate now. So the next interchange that we're going to come up on shortly is going to be the 710 and the 105. This driver has a clear shot right now. I was widening out as Eric was speaking to see if maybe CHP was trying to reduce traffic on the southbound side of the 710 where this pursuit has been since it got off the 5 in Commerce. That doesn't seem to be the case, but look at this long tail of black and white units. If this driver tries anything, it is unlikely he's going to get away because of how much ground coverage there is here. It is incredible this pursuit is still going after that pit attempt in downtown LA. But southbound 710, city of Southgate right now, approaching the 105 freeway, unclear where this driver might be headed after stealing this white truck, carjacking somebody in a parking lot, in a restaurant in the city of Fontana. I believe Ontario police, they have now pulled their helicopter off of it, so it is just up to CHP on the ground to bring this safely to a stop.
Eric, what do you think? I mean, as far as like how long do you think CHP will carry on this pursuit? I found it interesting that CHP was behind this car on the surface streets in downtown LA.
Well, again, if we're talking about a violent felony and the reckless behavior that we've watched just during the car chase, there's not a whole lot of a chance they're going to give up at this point. This seems like they are in a very determined mode to bring this to an end and get this driver in custody. You know, one other factor is that based on the Fontana police investigation, they may have a lot more information about who they suspect is behind the wheel of this than we know about. That may elevate the risk, and that may be one of the reasons why they are being this aggressive. Yes, it's a violent felony. Yes, that's the kind of person they want to stop. Those are the kinds of pursuits that they typically don't let go. But there may be some other factors here. Perhaps the person involved, the driver, is somebody who is known to police out there, perhaps matches a description of somebody wanted for another crime. All of these things elevate it, and we're certainly seeing a level of attention to this. I mean, we counted, what, it was close to a dozen patrol cars behind him very recently here on the freeway. It seems very clear that they are not going to back off at this point. I know Julie said the Fontana helicopter had to go. Someone messaged me. The CHP now has one of its fixed-wing airplanes over this as well. So even though there's not a helicopter low down, it sounds like they are watching this from the air as we speak.
Julia, I noticed that this driver is now on side streets.
Yeah, just exited the 710 in the city of Lynwood. Looks like this driver is trying to get onto Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard now. And Eric is absolutely correct. I mean, the amount of resources this state agency, CHP, is dedicating to trying to get this pursuit to stop, that tells me there might be more to it. And maybe they're not sharing that publicly right now because their priority is just getting this to stop without anybody else getting hurt. The owner of this truck already dealing with minor injuries. I'm sure they don't want to try a pit maneuver where this truck might spin out and hit another driver. Earlier, you saw that pit attempt, right? There was nobody else around, nobody else who potentially might have been struck. It was interesting they didn't try to lay down any spike strips on the freeway. Perhaps that's because they were worried about other drivers accidentally driving over those spikes. Even though on the southbound side of the 710, before this driver exited, again, here in the city of Lynwood, there really wasn't that much traffic. But you see CHP now hanging back on these side streets. Looks like this is Wright Road and Fernwood Avenue, city of Lynwood here, after this driver exited the 710 freeway. And you see the number of black and whites. I'm counting about half a dozen CHP cruisers right behind this pursuit suspect.
Yeah, and again, Eric, I don't know if you've noticed too, this driver stops, waves at times, and then continues on his path.
We as observers are always trying to apply rational thinking to the things that we see people do during these car chases.
Yeah.
Having watched a lot of these and covered some of the court cases that follow, there's really no explanation for why somebody is behaving in a particular way other than they don't want to go to jail. They don't want to stop because they know when this stops, it's not going to be fun. And so I don't know that we can apply clear thinking to what we're seeing. People do what people do, and we just kind of have to watch and observe. If the person was thinking rationally, you might imagine they would not have embarked on this journey this afternoon to begin with. Yeah. So, and that's part of why these are so dangerous, is that there's such unpredictability, desperation oftentimes in the minds of the people who are being pursued, not to mention the fact that for all we know, like we were talking a moment ago, this is someone who might have been involved in some other crime that they know the police are after them for as well. That just elevates their feeling, their need to get away, and that, of course, increases the danger to everybody else on the road.
Yeah, as we see this pursuit now in a residential area, just saw that there's a school sign out there. So that, of course, brings another level to the security here for just anybody else who's not involved in this.
Well, not only do they not want this to go past a school to begin with, although I believe we may be out for the summer, depending on the school district.
Yeah.
School hopefully is out for the day. But the last thing they want is to be in a standoff with somebody who's potentially armed, they don't know, right in front of a school where there's children nearby. The ideal is for something like this to come to an end alongside a freeway with a bunch of cinder block walls, so it's contained. There's not a huge risk to the public. But again, they can't control that, and they've got to hope that by chance this comes to an end somewhere where it's the fewest innocent people, the fewest members of the public are placed at risk.
Yeah, it's the unknown. Again, we don't know what this person has in the vehicle, what he has on himself, right? We've just been monitoring him. Again, he stops, taunts officers for a little bit, and then continues to drive away. But yeah, I mean, the behavior is pretty erratic at times.
A lot of these, we've seen that exact thing happen over and over again, and we observe over and over. People who are being pursued often go to neighborhoods that they're familiar with. On the other hand, if they make a turn that is maybe into an area they're not so familiar with, they can get themselves onto one-way or dead-end or cul-de-sac streets pretty quickly. It seems like, I mean, we don't know why they're slowing down, but in the last 2 or 3 minutes, this driver has slowed considerably. That could be because they're running out of fuel, could be because they're unfamiliar with the area. And as Julia was talking about earlier, oftentimes people are just looking for a place where they think they might be able to make a run for it. But the dynamics of this have certainly changed in the last couple of minutes as we've watched this. High speeds on the freeway, high speeds and erratic driving through downtown LA. Now we're off the freeway in a neighborhood that this driver hasn't been through before, and the behavior has changed. So maybe this means we are inching towards the end of it.
I mean, you would hope so. You would hope so. I did notice prior to this that every time this driver would approach an intersection, he would slow down. And so that was good news for anybody else, you know, for all of those other drivers. And I'm not sure if maybe something's wrong with the tires here, or again, like you said, Eric, if maybe he's running out of fuel, or he's just taking into account that he's in a residential area.
Yeah, I'm a little familiar with the neighborhood he's in right now. This is an area that's patrolled by the LA County Sheriff's Department. A lot of dead-end streets here. If you are not familiar with the neighborhood, it is very easy to make one turn and then have no way out. There's pluses and minuses to that from the law enforcement perspective. On the one hand, there's a good chance you're going to contain the person you're after. The flip side is it can add to that feeling of desperation. Okay,
I don't know if you noticed that, Eric. One of the officers made a right turn, maybe to catch up with him on the other end.
This street may loop around. I guess we're about to find out.
All right, so yeah, we're trying to figure this out. I mean, officers at this point have to have a game plan, especially if they're familiar with this neighborhood.
Right, and because the underlying issue here is a violent crime, a suspected carjacking, although the victim we heard from didn't say this particular person had a weapon, it is still considered a violent crime. Taking something that belongs to somebody else.
There we go with the spike strips.
Spike strips we're watching. Taking something from somebody by force or fear is a robbery. In this case, if it's a car, it becomes a carjacking. And so they've got to approach this person with tremendous caution. And this guy may be boxed in here.
All right, so.
Yeah, there we go with the spike strips. He's got CHP behind him, CHP right up ahead of him. I think they're going to try boxing him in again. They've got more units this time. And you saw this cruiser over here on the right with the officer getting out from the passenger side. You saw that vehicle speeding around to meet up with this truck where they knew this street was going to loop around.
Just like we were talking about, this is a neighborhood that has a lot of one-way and dead-end and cul-de-sacs, and apparently he turned on to one of those. You saw the passenger in the CHP car by the front bumper jump out very quickly. That's to get out of the line of fire. It is a tremendous risk to approach somebody who's suspected in a violent crime from the front, but there's times to take that chance, especially when they're so committed to bringing this to an end, and this seemed like a pretty perfect opportunity.
And the driver is finally out.
This is it.
Oh, and is he trying to run?
Oh,
now they got the K-9 on him, taking him down after he had his hands up. This is it, finally. I think they were waiting for an opportunity to do this when they saw that pursuit driver taking that turn, driving around this neighborhood where that road does loop around. You saw how quickly CHP seized that opportunity to go around so they could meet this driver, but they've got him down on the ground now. K-9 unit is out here as well. Nearly a dozen officers now on scene as residents are walking out with their phones out, recording this takedown, this surrender. Finally, after more than 2 hours, this carjacking suspect out of the city of Fontana, finally apprehended by CHP here in the city of Lynwood.
That was pretty remarkable. That was some great work there from the officers. I haven't noticed a K-9 come after a driver in a pursuit.
Usually, I say usually just because these are all different, but oftentimes police dogs are brought in for a specific purpose at the end of a situation or into a standoff or into a search for somebody. It was probably some degree of luck that the CHP had one of their officers with a dog that was nearby and could join the chase and be ready for potentially what was going to happen at the end of this. Dog bites are nasty. They can inflict serious injuries. The alternative is officers going hands-on and walking up and potentially confronting somebody with a weapon. So sometimes it's the tactic they choose. This seemed to be one of those moments.
Boy, Eric, if you can, please, let's talk about some of those charges that this driver could potentially face now.
Well, the most serious is clearly what this began with, which was the account that we heard from the guy who was just stopping for lunch, had the keys ripped out of his hand, fought with this driver over control of his truck, and had his truck stolen right in front of him. Again, that's a carjacking, but carjacking is really a subset of robbery under the California Penal Code, and it is the robbery that results in the theft of a motor vehicle. So a robbery is a real serious violent felony. You don't have to have a gun or a knife to commit a robbery. It is by force or fear. So threatening somebody or using force to take something becomes a robbery. It's a real serious felony. Add to that the possibility, from what we've heard, or what we have not heard, I should say, is that this is somebody known to law enforcement, possibly already wanted for something else. That's certainly in the mix. And then everything that happened during the car chase. We've been doing a lot of reporting on pursuits about what happens to the folks who we see lead police on these chases and how serious are the consequences. And because a lot of times we're trying to get an assessment of whether the risk is worth the reward. The risks of pursuits are extraordinary. We've covered the fact that many of these end in collisions. Oftentimes the people who are hurt in collisions are innocent motorists. So the charges will add up based on the behavior they recorded during the chase.
All right, Eric Leonard, Julia Dang, and News Chopper 4, thank you so much to both of you. Wow, what a scene. A 2-hour pursuit comes to an end with the K-9 involved as well in this. We're going to have a lot more for you coming up here on the NBC4 News at 3. Thank you for watching.